when you first started this band, heavy metal was kind of in like recovery mode, right? I remember Rhapsody of Fire being like one of those bands that's really helping to bring this music back. And you know, when he first started out, what was that like? Because first of all, there wasn't a band that sounds anything like you. I don't think there is now. But what was it like coming into that era in the early days of the band? You know, when heavy metal, especially in the U.S. and maybe some other areas, was kind of coming out of what I would consider like a dark time, you know, in the history of this music.
Well, I have to say that when I met Luca, he was 16, I was 18, something like that, and we were into any kind of music really, from pop to rock to metal to classical, and we really bothered to be metalheads at the time, And but we started liking the kind of music, and I I started listening music like when I heard Europe, I was excited. Then from Europe, I moved to Ronnie James Dio, to Ingrid
Yeah.
Malmsteen, Elohim, Blind Guardian, King Diamond, Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions, what Iron Maiden, I mean, whatever, every band. So for us, the scene, at least from our perspective, being Italians, it was always fantastic. We I never liked this grunge movement, so I was never into it. So for us, we focused really on some specific genre of music,
Sure.
and we thought, okay, we are a heavy metal band, not even a band at the time, but we are a musician that likes heavy metal, and we want to compete with all the bands that are famous in the world. So this was the first thing, to write music that could compete. So for us, there was nothing else. There was the war, what was outside the window, we didn't care. We just sit down on the sofa and write songs in the living room. Can
Yeah.
you imagine? And then went to the studio, record some demos, but our goal was to be competitive and to do something that was kind of new, to create this element, this classical element, to combine it. And we didn't compose heavy metal songs and then apply some violins on top. We really started composing for all the instruments at the same time. So it was like to write classical music with the use of drums and bass and guitars. You know what I mean? It was a different process. It's
Mhm.
not like, you understand what I mean. So from our perspective, it was just exciting to be able to have this material and to be conscious that we could have gone somewhere. So we went to the first time in the studio, recorded music. Our first record label was super happy. They were super enthusiastic about the thing, and we just start selling records out of the blue, without having a rehearsal room even.
Yeah. And it's interesting you brought that up. You brought it up that you're writing the actual compositions, then adding the guitars and the bass and stuff. And I think when you listen to bands that have music they've put out and then they try to go make a live album or make a record where they have classical instruments over it, a lot of times, at least for me and even generally with most people, a lot of times that doesn't go over very well because those songs weren't originally meant to have those instruments in them.
Yes.
Sometimes it works great, sometimes it does not work that well at all. But
Yeah.
if you're writing it before you add the guitar parts, it's having the actual song.
Yeah,
Then yeah.
it's more about the 4-6 hands work. You
Mm-hmm.
write a song. Of course, now nowadays I prefer to write music and to have a guitar riff in the beginning of the song, and I apply my orchestration on top of it. And this is exciting for me because it's like it triggers my fantasy. What can I do over
Right.
this guitar part? Sometimes the orchestration I do are incredible over a simple guitar riff, and this is exciting for me to be able to do that. But it's being able to have all the elements to work on them at the same time.
Yeah.
This is the secret, to have an eye on the heavy metal side and the classical part, and to be able to combine them in a, let's say, natural, clever way,
Yeah.
where
It,
everything is combined together.
yeah. you had this ambition to obviously make something new and, come out and do something great. Early on, obviously, Sasha Path was your producer. And what was it that you may have learned from him that really helped you along throughout the years you've been doing this?
Well, there was a lot of friction at the beginning because when we sent demos and he wanted to start the production already and have some prepare all the sessions for the recordings, etc. And we sent everything programmed. We had the drums were programmed and everything was on a sequencer. So there were all the parts that were for him important to create sessions. And when we arrived at the studio, he said, guys, I've started already. And he completely changed all the drums. We had a lot of double bass everywhere. He just cut this in high speed or something. And we said, what's going on here? We don't want, we go back home. Goodbye. We were so drastic in that Limb from the first label says, no, please, Sasha, do like the guys they want because they have a vision. So he put back all this bass, double bass everywhere and these fast parts. And we started working from there. On that very point, he was always the producer of the first albums, but Luca and myself were producing the album as well without knowing it, without knowing the meaning. We really knew what we wanted. So at the end, we took over and we said, no, this is produced by us as well because we have a vision, we know what we want. But what Sasha helped, well, of course, help a bit everywhere. And he was helpful for the vocal recordings. Many times we wrote melodies that were at the beginning were a bit hectic. The combination between the words that Luca wanted and the melodies were difficult to sing sometimes. So sometimes we had to change melody, and Sasha was good at that. Sasha did a great job with Angra, with other bands before, but with them he really had more freedom. Not with us. We really wanted our own.
Right.
Respect the melody, respect the speed, respect what we want. So, but of course, in the beginning, was really the guy that really helped us to put all the elements together and make them sound
Sure.
sound good in this mix.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. A lot of these last couple records, I think, last three records actually, I think are phenomenal. I think you've really done a great job, and it's like all that experience that you've had over the years. And man, I was going through the discography of the amount of records, the amount of songs you've put out. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I was listening to stuff the other day that, like, I completely forgot existed. When I usually go back and listen to a band's a back catalog to kind of get, feel, a perspective of where, the stuff in the past compared to now. And I remember like the one EP, for example, I was listening to one of the EPs that you had put out back then. And Rain of a Thousand Flames. That's what it was. I remember when that came out. And I don't know what it was. I absolutely loved that EP when it came out. And I forgot, honestly, I forgot it existed. But then I started looking back at all the singles and, all of the songs you've done over the years. And it's like, wow, man, you've really put out a lot of great stuff, over the last quarter century.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when I go back into and do the same thing you did, I'm amazed because some tracks I don't even remember. I don't even remember the titles. It's really too much stuff. But it's well, mix wise for sure. The last albums, the job that Seb does is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a difference between what we did in the past. In the past, we didn't want the powerful drums. We said we don't just make the drums as smoother as you can because we want to hear all the rest, the orchestration and the melody, the choir.
Yeah.
Make the choir louder, louder, louder. And so now with this new technology, with new approach, of course, we need the drums, guitar to pump, sounds good. But with the definition that Seb is able to do, we can hear everything. So
Hmm.
we have the energy, the power, but also the definition, and yeah, you can hear everything basically.
Yeah,
So
yeah. This new album, it's probably one of the best, if not the best sounding album from the production side that you've ever done. I'll honestly, I mean, that's something that I'm definitely going to say when I actually do the review of the record, is that it from the production side. I
yeah.
think I really think that this is one of the best sounding albums you've done.
Yeah, thank you. It's well, the sound is really relevant when we're talking about drums,
Yeah.
bass. The bass, we really searched for the right sound, and we had different choices that we recorded that Seb could use. So there was a lot of area that he could move, and all this. I prepared the stems for the orchestra. Otherwise, he would get 200 single tracks.
Hmm.
So I avoid him this sufferance, and I pre-mixed some stems, orchestral stems. But of course, there were a lot of vocal harmonies, a lot of choirs. I also pre-mixed because otherwise there would be really too much, like 1,000 tracks in the end. So
Right.
oh yeah, it's I try to do my best to have the best sounds from the source, and then Seb is elevating everything.
Yeah.
I could not do that really, so it's really a precious uh, person that can really make the sound right and make the band sounds like we intended to sound.
Couple more things for you before we get off here. Any shows coming up with the band? You know, any kind of shows? Are you going on tour? I'm assuming, and anything you want to talk about as far as some upcoming shows you have going on?
Well, next Friday we fly off Mexico City, and we
Okay.
do 5 shows in Latin America, and we come back, and the next weekend we play in a festival in Italy. Then there is a little break, and from July on, we every weekend we have a festival, and we have the Hellfest, we have the Barcelona Rock Fest, and we have the Joe Smith in Finland. We have a lot of festivals that are, it's a really full summer full of events and shows. It's fantastic. And from September on, we are planning more touring, and we are working on a tour for US in September, October Asia, and there are still, everything has to be announced yet, but we are working on Asia, maybe Australia, and in November, October, November, Europe again. So
Pretty busy.
it's pretty busy, and we soon will be announcing all those dates. So yeah, we have events fixed for 2025. A few important
Right.
events we will be talking soon. So yeah,
That's
it's
great, man. Well,
great to have an album like that out,
yeah.
and being so busy playing around, and it's good.
Well, right. Last question for you before we get off. Again, any last words to the fans that are going to be checking out this interview?
Well, it's a blessing to still be here as a musician and to work on music that we appreciate and will make the listener and our fans happy. So we are looking forward to go play everywhere again, from Europe to Asia to US, and to have this exchange of energy again. The last two US tour was incredible. We are looking forward to come back.
Great, man. Well, Alex Staropoli from Rhapsody of Fire, great to have you on. Definitely, you are definitely one of those people in the early days of me doing this that was
Thank
really pretty inspirational for me in the beginning, and I still go back to those first couple records just because they came out at that time. But following the band over the years, it's really awesome to see that you're still here and making records as good as you're making them right now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, and to everybody's listening.
All right.